For the sake of the story, I went to scorched earth, got divorced, and made my 26-year-old wife, M, cheat on me with a 27-year-old man with a friend of mine. For the sake of the story, let me tell you a little about how we met. I was 22 at another friend's wedding, and she was a good friend of the bride, and I was close to the groom, so they sat us at the same table to get us together. When I first saw her, I was blown away by how beautiful she was. She sat down, and we started talking, and we discovered we had a lot in common. We ate dinner, danced, and drank throughout the night, and ended up kissing in the middle of the dance floor, and asked what was going on between us. They were excited to play matchmaker, so we just shrugged it off and continued our night without exchanging numbers. However, a week later, I received a text from her asking me out. The bride had given me her number, so I said yes, and it developed into a relationship. Other than minor arguments, we never really fought, and it was never anything serious. After about 2 years of dating, I asked her to marry me, and we were married less than a year later. We had been married for a little over a year when everything fell apart right before our first anniversary. There were little things that were getting on my nerves, non-existent. I had brought this up several times, but she dismissed it, telling me that I was allowing my insecurities to control her. As a result, I stopped kissing her goodbye before leaving for work, and unless it was something urgent, we didn't talk much. One night while she was sleeping, I took her phone and laptop and quickly looked through her texts, emails, and messenger apps, but I found nothing. After reading the stories on this site, I decided to check her car, took her keys, and discovered a second phone. I knew immediately what was happening, but I wanted all the proof because when I confronted her, I didn't want her to say something like that. Had only happened once or something dumb like that. So I searched through the phone and found only one number, read through all of the messages, and connected the phone to my computer to print out all of the messages and all of the photos. I spent the night researching divorce lawyers. I spent hours of the day in my home office reading the bios of lawyers and found one that I liked, so I emailed him. Since it was Saturday, he wasn't there, so I wanted to know who the guy was. So I grabbed my phone, typed the number, and was about to call and pretend I was Spectrum because who doesn't have Spectrum? Jay's contact appeared, and it took me a minute to piece things together, but when I did, I exploded, yelling and swearing in my office. My wife opened the door to check on me, but I told her to get the F out. She shut the door and proceeded to our room. I had never sworn at my wife or raised my voice louder than usual before, so I spent the entire day glaring at the wall and calling one of my friends, the groom from the wedding, to ask if he would accompany me. He must have heard something in my voice because he asked if I was okay, and I told him that I wasn't, so I took all the printouts and went to the bar. I arrived first, ordered 4 shots of Jack and a beer. I was on my last shot when my friend T arrived and inquired what was going on. I told him that M was cheating and he sympathized. I asked if he wanted to know, and he looked visibly irritated. I told T not to tell anyone about it because I had just found out and hadn't even spoken to Amber, a lawyer, yet. I asked him not to tell his wife because she asked what was wrong with me, to say I was having problems at work, and he agreed. We talked and drank for the majority of the night before I called an Uber and left for home at around 3 in the morning. Jay and I were never very close and wouldn't ask each other to hang out, but if we saw each other at a get-together, we were friendly. M. I hadn't checked my phone since I made a call. M left several missed calls and texts asking me where I was, when I would be home, and if I was okay. When I got home, she was sleeping on the couch, so I just walked up to our bedroom and went to sleep. When I woke up, she was in bed, so I got dressed, left the house, picked up my car, went to my office, got caught up in my work for the day, and returned home at around 10 o'clock. I was shocked to see my wife there to welcome me, and she informed me that she had prepared dinner. She asked if I wanted her to reheat it, but I declined, and she went to bed shortly after. I told her that I wanted to sleep and that I wanted her to stop bothering me, but she persisted, so I finally snapped and yelled at her to stop. The following morning, I received an email from the lawyer asking to meet later in the day, so I confirmed and went downstairs to leave. Mem had prepared breakfast and asked to talk, so I made a small plate and sat down. She began by saying that I had been acting strangely and that I had changed, and she wanted to know why I had told her that work had been stressful and that it would soon be over. I finished up and said I had to go. So I went to my office and counted down the minutes until I left, telling my assistant I was leaving. I went to lunch with a client whose wife occasionally called my place of employment. I ended the meeting with the lawyer, which went well, and gave him all the information I had gathered about her. The lawyer said, "I'm sorry for everything that's going on, but I'm glad you gathered all this information, you see. We live in an at-fault state, so your wife has no claim on most of your money." I told him I hadn't even considered that, and I was just thinking I had to get a divorce as soon as possible. He asked to keep the evidence, but I told him I'd prefer that he just make copies, since I hadn't told my wife yet, and didn't want to hear her excuses. He agreed, and I asked when she would be served the papers, and he said it would be in about 2 weeks. I thanked him and left, then went home to confront my wife, but she wasn't home when I got there. I called her, but she didn't pick up, so I called her again, but she didn't pick up, so I texted her. I don't care if you're writing. Jay, right now, get home, we need to talk. And she called me a minute later to ask what I was talking about. When she got there, about 15 minutes later, I told her, wow, look at that 15 minutes. That's about the same distance between here and Jay's, isn't it? She looked at me, astonished, but she just stared at me. I gave her a minute to collect herself, but she tried to deny and gaslight me. So I let her continue and she got upset. So I slammed the table to stop her and then pulled out the evidence, first showing it from the side. I showed her each printout one at a time, and she started crying. She tried to apologize and tell me that she loved me, but I told her to stop. She tried to hug me and apologize, saying that she was so insistent about insulting and demeaning me just a minute ago. I put my hand out and told her not to touch me, but she said that we would go to the bedroom and do whatever I wanted. I looked her in the eyes and told her, sweetheart, I will never touch you again. I apologize for the length of time, and if there are any spelling mistakes, I apologize. I'm interested to know what people who have been in my situation think I can anticipate from this. Thank you for reading. The OP wants some opinions. Race Luminos has 1 bravo. You handled that like a champion. First and foremost, remove her from all financial accounts to protect yourself. Next, get an STD test. Finally, don't do anything in a state of anger, meaning that even though you might feel like hurting her or Jay, don't follow your lawyers. Advice and ask him if you can change the locks on the house. She has effectively abandoned the marital residence, so don't drink or use drugs. Finally, be ready for the inevitable, which is that she will try to paint you as the villain in this. I'll follow the lawyer's advice that all communication between her and me should go through him, so hopefully I won't be talking to her at all. Jay does have a fiancé, and I will be telling her what Enforcement X wants to add. Tell everyone what she's done and why you're divorcing her, including her parents, friends, and especially her. If Jay has a girlfriend or spouse, channel your anger and rage into some form of exercise. It will help you calm down and tire you out to help you sleep, which will become more difficult as the reality of the situation sets in. Good luck. How are you going to get in touch with Jay's fiancé? I'm sure he knows that you know and will probably be watching for anything in the mail or you showing up at the house, etc. Hopefully he won't be able to check her social media or email. The OP responds, I've met her a few times and I have her number. I'll try to contact her until she answers if she doesn't. If she doesn't, I'll go to their house when he's at work. I won't let that POS get away. Good on you, man. You're quick and decisive. I'm sorry she got caught up with another piece of crap, but you'll win in the end. It would be difficult to look someone in the eye or even want to be around someone who betrayed you like that, especially with a friend. I'm glad you had someone you could go talk to at that time. Having a supportive community makes all the difference. I think you've made all the right moves, and despite everything, you've managed to handle yourself with grace. At this point, I think I would just follow your lawyer's lead. If I were to update one, let me first thank everyone who commented or messaged me. I sincerely appreciate the support and advice you have given me. I have made an effort to keep up with the comments, so I apologize if I didn't answer yours. I hope this update answers more of the common questions you have asked. If you haven't read the first part, go to my page. It's still there. I followed most of the advice you gave me this morning because I plan to do a lot of damage control in my life. So I made an appointment with my doctor to get checked for sexually transmitted diseases. I then began contacting everyone close to me, including my father and a few very supportive friends, offering their own advice and asking if I need help with anything. However, since I have this crap on lock, I declined. I began contacting her family. I texted her parents to thank them for letting me into their home and to let them know that, although they were wonderful people, I would miss them terribly, and that I was grateful for everything they had done for me. I also told them to feel free to ask any questions they might have, but I didn't hear back from them for a while, so I moved on to M's sister. This was hurtful because I was good friends with her sister, and I knew that this would ruin our friendship, so I texted her, hey, I'm sorry I have to text you this, but Em and I are going to get divorced, and I wanted you to know I want to thank you from day one. You accepted me as a brother. I will be around if you ever need anything from me. Parents replied, I'll type up how that conversation went. And we're very sorry to hear this. The reason why she hasn't contacted us is that it has been at least a year long, and I suspect it began before our wedding. I don't know why she left the house, but I think you should call her. Thank you for informing us that she was having an affair, and I'm positive I found their texts. After dealing with her family, I moved on to Jay's fiancé, and I can't recall if I told you all that he is engaged in the first part. I assumed, based on some of the comments, that Em and Jay would have plotted some grand scheme, but either Em didn't. Tell them I found out, or they're just stupid. I texted her around 2:00 p.m. and asked if we could get together for coffee or something by 2:05. She said yes, and I was to meet her at some rundown hipster coffee shop across from her workplace at 2:30. I got there, ordered my awful coffee, and waited for a few minutes before she came in, ordered hers, and joined me. I told her that there was no simple way to explain what I was going to tell her, so I told her that Jay had been cheating on you with my wife for over a year. She was obviously shocked. So I told her that I only found out a few days ago. I know I should have told you then, but I had a divorce to start and my own pity to deal with. She asked how I found out. I then asked if she wanted to see the evidence I had gathered and pulled out a binder. She grabbed the binder, skimmed through the messages and pictures, and began to sob silently. I told her that she was more than welcome to take the binder if she wanted to confront Jay about it or use it to see if he would lie. She thanked me, got up, took the binder, and I told her to let me know if she needed anything. Told me to just keep sober, keep a level head, and so on, but my world just fell apart. I'm going to spend this week sitting on my back porch drinking, smoking, and listening to Blair music. After this week, I'll stop feeling sorry for myself and return to my regular routine. On a more positive note, I've already packed up the majority of her belongings, including her clothes, jewelry, and other items, and I've placed our wedding book and all of her photos in the boxes. If and when she returns for her belongings, I don't want her here any longer than necessary. Additionally, I didn't break anything other than a few picture frames, and I told everyone that my doctor's appointment is set up, and my lawyer is working hard to get me out of this nonsense, and 90% of her belongings are in boxes. If she doesn't get involved in my affairs, this could be the smoothest divorce ever. Thank you for reading, and I always appreciate advice. I'm sorry she put you in the situation where you have to tell people what happened. It's really unfair, and you shouldn't have to bear this responsibility. Infidelity definitely affects more than just your relationship. It affects many mutual relationships. Update 2. Hello, everyone. I apologize for being absent for a while, but I believe I've caught up. Since the last update, I've been enjoying my pity party drinking and more drinking. I say this is my first moment of semi-soberness. I guess numb is a good word to describe how I feel now that I know everything, and the only person who didn't respond was M's sister, with whom I was very close that night. I continued drinking after I posted and passed out on the back patio, with an empty bottle and several beer cans around me. When I woke up to the smell of breakfast being prepared, my first reaction was, oh Christ, M came back and thinks that breakfast is going to make up for what she's done. I threw myself out of the chair, prepared for a screaming match, but to my surprise, it was M's sister, who I stood there for a moment trying to calm myself back down. But when she saw I was awake, she ran away. She took my hand, put her arms around me, and led me to the table. As I ate, she apologized and said that when her sister arrived at her house, she simply said that we were having problems and that everything would be okay in a few days. W then explained to me that when I texted her that we were divorcing, she asked M if it would be okay and why he was divorcing you. Apparently, M just broke down and told W everything. I sneered and said, there's no way she told you everything. And she continued to tell me that M had stated that it was a one-time incident and that I was exaggerating. I told W that I had no intention of getting back together with M and that, if that is why she's here, she's wasting her time. W stayed with me for 2 days in the guest bedroom because I had it before the marriage, and I can't touch it. This morning, as I'm getting ready to leave for my cabin, I was gathering my hunting and fishing gear. She asked if she could join me, but I told her that as much as I would like it, she should probably go check on her sister. She laughed and said that she wasn't here for her sister, but that she and I are friends and she wouldn't abandon me, especially when I didn't do anything wrong. Agreed, hugged me, and left. I'm really thankful to W for supporting me, and before any of you say that she's into me, she's not. She's 20 years old, and that's way too young for me. I almost forgot to mention that I went to the doctor, got tested, and the results should be in on Monday. I've contacted Jay's fiancée a few times to see how she's doing, and she told me that she's fine, but that she doesn't know what to do. I told her that I'd be happy to listen if she wanted to vent, and if you have any questions or advice, please feel free to comment or message me. I'll be on here for a little while, so please feel free to ask, but I'll be leaving for the weekend. There won't be any internet out there, so I won't be around this weekend. I also want to thank you all so much for reaching out and everything. Thank you again, and I apologize that these updates are always too long. Let's see some more community reactions. Tailbone77 says, I will say it again, I'm so extremely effing proud of you for the way that you are handling this crap storm. I am still delusional AF and laughable crap with her. The only advice I can give anyone going through this is to keep your head down and focus on what you really want. Whether it's divorce or reconciliation, set your goals one at a time and keep it off the internet. It's been a while, but I thought I'd give you an update on all the new happenings. If this is your first time seeing these posts, you can visit my page and see my other posts. You'll definitely need context in my last post, where I told you all about W coming to my house and staying for a few days, and how she left when I was leaving to go hunting at my cabin. Good news. I got a buck, a nice 8-pointer, my first day out there, which I am very happy about because it gave me more time to go fishing. I only caught 2, but they were of a respectable size, so I made one for dinner and butchered the other. I spent the rest of my trip at the cabin cleaning my deer and taking in the views of nature. aside from a drink or two a day. As I promised, my drinking was limited to the previous week, so I'm clean now, and it's not as shocking as I am, but I haven't had many passionate nights in a few months, but you can never be too sure. I reached out to Jay's fiancée, but she didn't respond for a while, and she eventually replied that she's staying with her family right now. She didn't go into much detail, but you can only assume that she's staying with her family. It's not going well, but at least she's safe with her family and has all the support she could need. I told her that if there's anything I can do, she just needs to reach out. She asked me to meet and have coffee the next day, which I naturally agreed to. We talked for about 2 hours about everything that happened with M, and she wanted to know what I was doing, whether I was divorcing, or if there was any chance we could get back together. I told her that after someone cheats in my book, that's it. The amount of selflessness and disrespect it takes to cheat, let alone for a year, shows she clearly didn't care for me. I asked her what her plan was, and she told me she was confused about everything, and that everything she had believed to be true turned out to be lies, was unsure of what to do next, whether to move on or forgive him. I told her that if she could forgive someone for cheating on her for that long, she was a better person than me. She told me that her entire family was telling her to forgive him and get married. I told her that just because your family wants something doesn't mean you have to follow their wishes. Then I said, Jay obviously doesn't care about marriage and what it all means. He cheated on you, the fiancé, with my wife. If that doesn't show you he's not marriage material. I told her that she should do what she felt was right and that she shouldn't let anyone else make the decision that would impact her life. I told her that I only spoke to one person, but I had already made up my mind and no one could change it. I bet that when you went to stay with your family, you had a pretty good idea of what you were going to do, but you let too many people in and they all gave you their own opinions. I concluded by telling her that all she needed to do was follow her gut because her heart and brain would always be lying to her. But if something feels off, her gut is probably right. She thanked me, and we left each other and went home the next day. I received a message from my lawyer stating that M had been served at work, and I thanked him for his hard work, especially during the time F.A. me. Shortly afterward, W called to inform me that she had not left her room all day and was crying in bed. I told her that she had been served and that she was likely realizing how badly she had messed up. She asked me how the cabin was and if I had anything. I told her everything I had done and how my time there had gone. We spoke for a moment before hanging up, and I prepared myself in my home for my wife's explosion, figuring that if she would, it would be soon. I told my friend, and he agreed that if M appeared, he would rush over to be a witness just in case everything else fails. I'm currently waiting for Hurricane M to tear through my house. If or when she does, I'll send out another update. The OP replies that cameras have been installed inside and outside the house since we moved in. The lawyer said there is nothing he or I can do because it's also her house. I also can't pull any money out of our shared account until the divorce is finalized, but I don't have to add any more. What kind of family encourages someone to stay with their fiancé and truly commit to someone who hasn't proven they can even commit to one person? Quickly, after 33 years, a chump says to get some security cameras, start contacting lawyers, freeze your credit, move half the money where she can't access it, secure your documents, and take pictures of everything. Just 2 days ago, but I have some news. I apologize for not responding to or reading the comments on my previous post, but I was unable to find the time until now to do so. I'll start by giving a brief overview of everything that has happened so far. For the first time, my wife was exhibiting the telltale signs of an affair, so I snooped and discovered a second phone in her car. I immediately started looking for a lawyer, got one, and began the legal process. After a verbal altercation, she packed her bags and left. I then contacted everyone who was close to us, including my father, friends, and her family, before contacting her affair partner's fiancé, and informed her of everything I knew and could prove my wife was served at work 2 days ago. Approximately an hour after I last posted, I was waiting for M to show up at the house and go crazy. I had no reason to believe she would do anything, but considering everything that had happened, I never really knew the woman. I checked all the cameras I had installed and made sure they were functioning properly, both inside and outside. I called my friend to let him know that M was served today, and that if she showed up, he needed to come to my house as soon as possible. I was correct, as M showed up at the house banging on the door, screaming to let her in. I called my friend and W to come right away because M was beating down. She was screaming and banging on my door the entire time, and all I could do was laugh. I wondered why she didn't just walk in, and she still had keys as far as I knew. When my friend arrived, she was still screaming and cursing, so he started recording on his phone and stayed in his truck, but this idiot brought his wife with him. So she got out and tried to calm me down. She approached M, put her arms around her, and tried to get her to talk to her. M then slapped her across the face, screaming at her to mind her own business, which prompted my friend, who now has a video of it, to call the police. When the police arrived, she made a concerted effort to play the victim. One of the two officers approached her, and she began to sob and tell them that I had hit her and thrown her out of the house. My friend and his wife informed the other officer that when they arrived at the house, I was screaming and pounding on the door, so they couldn't verify that I hadn't done what I claimed I had done. After that officer finished speaking with them, he came to my door, and when I opened it, he said, "There, that's him. He hit me. I want him arrested." The officer began to put me in handcuffs when I told him I could prove she was lying. I asked for my phone, and he stopped and instructed me to show him the video from the outside cameras. After looking over the footage, he apologized for rushing to after dealing with the police for approximately 30 minutes. I told him that I didn't blame him. However, he informed me that they had received 15 calls from my neighbors, and apparently during her tirade, she had screamed out, "He hit me." And after dealing with the police for about 30 minutes, M ended up being placed in handcuffs and charged with public intoxication and DUI. When the police took me to the car, W arrived and asked me what had happened. I showed her the video on my phone, and the officer came up to me to give me the case number and some other paperwork. W began to question me about these charges, so I simply went back inside, and he followed shortly after, sitting next to me, the store. But when she returned, I was no longer in the living room, so she assumed I had gone to bed after drinking too much wine. We spoke for a while, and she asked if she could stay the night. I told her that I had to spend the night in jail for an unknown reason, but that they could help her get out. She told me that when I returned inside, she called her parents to tell them what was going on, and to ask if they could help M because she doesn't have that kind of money. We shared a beer before she went to bed, and when I woke up in the morning, W had already left to meet with her parents. I haven't heard from either of their parents, but I don't think it's a fun conversation. Hopefully, M was able to cool off in jail. Hello everyone, it's been a little more than a week since I posted news. If you didn't see my last update, it was taken down for some reason, but I'll give you a quick summary of everything that happened. Before my wife was served, I told a friend about it and asked him to be on standby in case she came over. I wanted him there as a witness. Later that day, my lawyer informed me that she was served at work, and a few hours later, my wife was hammering on my door. I called my friend as soon as I heard her, and I also called her, telling her to come over because her sister was beating on my door. Shortly after I got off the phone, my friend arrived and began recording my wife's tirade from his truck, which he had brought his wife for some reason. And she got out to try and calm me down. She ran up to her and tried to pull her away. My wife then turned around and slapped her, telling her to keep out of her business. My friend stopped recording and called the police, and when they arrived, my wife flipped a switch and began accusing me of abusing her. When I went outside to speak with the police, they immediately began to put me in handcuffs, but when I told them I had cameras that showed she was lying, they stopped and let me take out my phone. Once they watched the full video, they arrested her and made her take a breathalyzer before taking her to their car. W pulled up, asking what was going on, and she came and stood next to me. That pretty much sums up my last update. I haven't heard from M since that night, but her lawyer called to let him know he'll be representing M. Finally, we can begin this process. I also reached out to Jay's fiancée to see if she has any updates on her end. We only texted back and forth, but she told me she had kicked him out of her house and had her father and brother pack up all his belongings and drop them off at his house. The cop brought the paperwork in to apologize to me for making snap decisions, so I just said I understand it's no big deal. She thanked me for checking on her and told me that her close friends are there for her when she needs them. I sent her the link to my Reddit page so she could see all the support you all give to me and to her. On Friday, as soon as I got off work, I hurried home, and my plan was to return to my cabin for the weekend. When I got there, W was in my driveway, wanting to get her sister's belongings. She had a list of what my wife expected, and I glanced through it all, but one item was already in a box or waiting to be picked up. I told her that I wouldn't be held accountable if she wanted to claim that I destroyed her belongings, and that I would pay a moving company to come and pack and take everything for her because I don't have time to deal with M's crap right now. She said that would be great and hoped I had fun. Then she turned to me and asked if she could come this time. I said, "Sure. Why don't you go back home and drop off the box and pack a bag for yourself?" And she was pulling up. I locked up my house and left for the cabin with W. The weekend went really well. The last time I was up there, I realized what a gem this place is. It has a gorgeous view and is completely secluded, so I don't have to deal with anyone. On Monday, I called a moving company, and by today, Tuesday, 3 men in a large truck arrived and began loading. I had every box open and recorded as they closed the box and picked it up. I also took pictures of every piece of furniture and recorded it as the movers loaded it. I thanked them for their patience and gave them each an additional $50. I then sent all the recordings and pictures to my lawyer and continued with my day. The house looks clean and empty without all of her belongings here. When I started the process, my lawyer advised me not to get rid of anything that might be deemed shared, so I put most of the furniture in a storage unit. I've been sleeping in the guest room since she left, so until I started writing this post, I've been purchasing brand new furniture. I'll probably keep the majority of it in the garage now that I have the space. Even if I win the divorce, I won't be keeping the house. It contains too many now bad memories. Thank you for reading Update 6. Hey Reddit, it's been a while since I posted. I coach high school baseball, so between finishing the divorce proceedings, dealing with my soon-to-be ex, and coaching these kids, I don't have much free time right now. Because of this post may be lengthy, so please be patient with me. Since it's been a little over a month since I posted, I'll give a brief summary of everything that happened in my previous post in case you forgot, or if you need to go back and read it again, it's all on my profile. We left off with M getting arrested after hitting my friend's wife and telling the police that I assaulted her after showing them the I was fired, and she was arrested on a number of charges. I didn't hear from them for a while until her attorney contacted mine to inform him that he would be representing M and completing the necessary paperwork. I contacted Jay's fiancée to find out what was going on, and she informed me that she had evicted him and that her brother and father had moved all of his belongings to Jay's new residence. I had intended to head to my cabin after work but discovered W waiting for me in my driveway. I assured her that I would cover the cost of a moving company. The following week, W asked if she could come up to my cabin with me, and I agreed, primarily because everyone was telling me she might need a break from her sister and that's pretty much all that happened in the last post. When she asked me last time, I told her no. I made sure to document everything with the movers to ensure she couldn't claim I broke anything she deemed special, and I sent everything to my lawyer. A few days after the movers took her belongings to M, my lawyer received some paperwork stating that I had destroyed her belongings and that she threatened to take me to court over it. My lawyer sent her all the videos and pictures asking exactly where the damages were, and he told me that this only serves to demonstrate to the judge how insane she is. It may be a headache right now, but when it comes time for court, this will all be perfect evidence. I don't think her lawyer was prepared for how meticulous I am, and that I'll take pictures and record everything. When I learned about my wife's affair, I was drawn to this page and read all the horrifying stories about what these people's ex-spouses did to them. I've prepared myself for almost every possible outcome and accusation she could make, so I wouldn't put anything past her. At this point, M calls me once every other day, but I never answer. If she leaves a voicemail, I don't bother listening to it. Instead, I send it to my lawyer. Every time I send him something, he tells me, "You're a lawyer's wet dream. You listen to everything I say. You gathered a mountain of evidence on your own." I haven't had a client who has done so well, and I wasn't kidding when I said that he says that every time, but it also puts a smile on my face every time he reassures me that I'm doing everything correctly. About 2 or 3 weeks ago, my lawyer told me that we have enough evidence to bury her outside of court, and if it doesn't work, it will look good on us for trying. We scheduled a meeting for a week ago, and before we met, he told me not to react to anything M might say, and that everything we say will be recorded for a judge to read if it goes to court. I arrived early in the office, and to my surprise, she was already there waiting with her lawyer. The lawyers began introducing themselves, and I sat there without saying anything, waiting for what would happen. Asking what we had to offer, I scoffed and said, "With the mountain of evidence of the infidelity and M's inappropriate behavior, after the only thing we'll offer her is half of the selling price of the home and half of the savings account that's more than any judge would award you, basically what you came into the marriage with, you'll be leaving with." He then turned to face them and said, "If you decide to go to court, I will put every message up, making you read it all aloud, and then I will put every photo up for everyone to see censored." But he didn't say that at the time. He then asked, "I'll bring up your recent charges and play the video that was taken that night." M began to cry as she looked at me, asking if there was anything she could do to make this right. I replied, "You've been cheating on me since before our wedding. All I can prove is that it was a few weeks before the wedding, but I suspect it was much longer. There is nothing you could do to make me forget or forgive you for what you did. Sign the papers. It's more than you deserve, and I want to be done with this whole sham you made." She sobbed uncontrollably for 15 minutes, and when she came back, she was still crying, but she signed them and left shortly after. In about a month, everything will be filed, and the only thing left to do is sell the house. I want to thank everyone who is currently reading the story and sharing what happened to everyone on YouTube. I've read most of the comments on there, taking the "I hope that what has happened to me has helped at least one person." Wow. Thank goodness you gathered all the evidence you did. You crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's, and you have a wicked good lawyer. I'm sorry she disrespected you in your relationship. I'm sorry. I don't see anything else happening from there either. If I'm wrong, I'll let you know. This will probably be my last post, and despite what transpired between you and M, it was stupid of her to believe she could get away with something like this. I'm happy you were able to keep up your contact with W. It's critical to have those individuals nearby to assist you, and it seems like you have a strong support network. Causes a guy to question whether there is anything in store for them in the future or if it's purely platonic. I suppose I can wish you luck and believe you'll be fine. What do you think? Hey, we appreciate you visiting us today. Please ring the bell to receive notifications so you don't miss our next video.